Imagine St. George not as a literal knight, but as a symbol. He represents rationality. His dragon? The dragon represents unreason, despotism, intolerance, and ignorance. For centuries, humanity struggled under the dragon's shadow. But around the 16th century, things began to shift. People started to think critically, to question, to demand evidence. This was the dawn of rationality's resurgence. This wasn't about one knight, one battle. It was about a new way of thinking taking root. Thinkers, inventors, and reformers all played their part. They wielded the lance of logic and the shield of skepticism. This marked the beginning of a long fight for a more rational world. One of rationality's first major victories was against absolute monarchy. The divine right of kings, a concept steeped in tradition and unquestioning obedience, began to crumble. Thinkers like John Locke argued for natural rights and a government accountable to its people. This led to revolutions in America and France. Another key battleground was religious intolerance. For centuries, Europe was plagued by religious wars and persecution. The rise of reason brought with it ideas of religious tolerance and freedom of conscience. Thinkers like Voltaire championed these ideals, arguing for a society where different beliefs could coexist. These early victories were not without their setbacks, but they proved that reason could challenge and change deeply ingrained beliefs and power structures. They ignited a hope for a future where reason, not dogma or tyranny, would prevail. The fight for a more rational world didn't end there. New dragons emerged. Slavery, a brutal system built on the irrational notion of human beings as property, was challenged and ultimately abolished. The inhumane conditions in prisons and asylums were exposed, leading to reforms. Poverty, once seen as an inevitable fact of life, came to be understood as a problem with solvable causes. Thinkers and activists like Florence Nightingale and Karl Marx dedicated their lives to fighting for social justice and equality, armed with the tools of reason and evidence. These battles demonstrated that the pursuit of a rational world is an ongoing process. Each generation faces new challenges, new forms of unreason to confront. The dragon, it seems, has many heads. Section 4, the peril of perpetual combat. But there lies a danger in this perpetual fight. The constant need to slay dragons can become an obsession. The line between fighting for what is right and seeking out battles can become blurred. We risk becoming like a knight-errant, wandering from one perceived injustice to another, never finding peace. The pursuit of smaller and smaller causes can become counterproductive, dividing people over trivial matters. The spirit of inquiry, so crucial in the early battles against larger foes, can devolve into a cynical skepticism of everything, paralyzing action and progress. This is the paradox of rationality. The very tool that empowers us to fight for a better world can, if wielded without caution, lead to its own kind of tyranny. The tyranny of endless critique, of perpetual dissatisfaction. Section 5. The importance of knowing when to sheathe the sword. So what is the answer? When to fight and when to rest? When to charge and when to negotiate? The answer, like most things in life, lies in balance. We must be vigilant in defense of reason, but also recognize that not every battle is worth fighting. We must learn to prioritize, to distinguish between true injustice and minor inconveniences. And most importantly, we must remember that a life solely dedicated to combat, even in the name of reason, is a life only half-lived. The true legacy of St. George, the true victory of rationality, lies not just in slaying dragons, but in cultivating the garden of human progress. It lies in knowing when to sheathe the sword and use our reason to build, to create, and to nurture a more just and compassionate world.